All right, welcome everybody back to the Big Douglas Show. With me, the man, the myth, the legend, the host of the Rambling with Rio podcast. It is Rio Robinson. What up, my fam?
What's going on, man? Is we only got one football game left in the year. It's cold. Everybody's sick outside, and I'm sick of watching Championship Sunday, and we're never even involved or even close to
Not
it.
close. Not even close. What brutal games yesterday for a couple of reasons. Well, obviously, we'll get to the home team, but let's talk about some of those things yesterday. The Eagles, listen, I hate to say this, but to me, they were the best team in the NFC at the start of the season. They ended up the best team at the end of the season.
Correct.
But nobody, I can't remember the last time somebody had an easier path once they hit the playoffs.
This is true.
The Giants with no weapons, and then the 49ers with, Josh Johnson, right? That's kind of all you got to say there. We watched the second half of a Wildcat system. So while I think they deserve to be there, it was a pretty easy road to hoe. What are your thoughts there on the Eagles? You like them?
I think that, one, they do deserve the right to be there. Congratulations to them and their annoying ass fans, man. I'm hating. I wish it was us. I can't stand that it's not us, but they get to see their second Super Bowl appearance in 5 years, third franchise. Like I can't get mad at them because when you get the first seed in the conference, you afford yourself the right to the easiest path. That's a key determining factor. When you have a 14-3 record, you're gonna get the lowest seed. And the Giants weren't supposed to be there, but that's what happens in the playoffs. Only one team gets a first round bye. There's a chance you play a wild card team in the divisional round. And then when you get to the NFC Championship, we know they didn't see the Niners' best team, but it happens. It's the NFL. People get hurt. It sucked for the casual or just the NFL fan of any other team watching or a Niners fan because you don't want to have to watch Josh Johnson in the NFC champ. Like nobody signed up to watch Josh Johnson play in the NFC Championship game, and you have to run the Wildcat for 3 quarters. But hey, you earn yourself the number 1 seed for a reason. You were the best team throughout the NFC, and the only team to beat Jalen Hurts in this season happens to be our stupid-ass Commanders.
The Commanders took it to them. People hated on Jalen Hurts. I was a big fan of his. You could tell he put in the work. He wasn't this quarterback in college. He wasn't necessarily this quarterback last year. I didn't think that you could make that kind of transformation of seeing the field the way he did. I also don't know how he gets the ball moving when he comes out of that low-ass stance that he rocks. I don't know who taught him that thing. It drives me a little crazy. It works for him, I guess. But I'm a big fan of Hurts. Are you?
I ate all the crow I needed to this year because I remember when the season started, I was like, yo, Jalen Hurts can't throw a football. Like, he can't throw the football. He doesn't scare me. The roster around him's perfect. I said a lot of things about Jalen Hurts, and I look very wrong because he's an all-pro, deserves to be. He's an MVP candidate, and he is one of the main reasons why this team is in the Super Bowl this year. I ain't mad at the brother, man. Like, I don't like the Eagles, and their fans can be annoying. I don't hate them like I hate Dallas, though. And, like, I love the hustle, man. Jalen Hurts been doubted since he was in college, man. And for him to turn around and develop this way, all props to the Eagles, their coaching staff, Brian Johnson, Sirianni, and crew. It's nice to see players develop, homegrown drafted players develop. And it's nice to know that coaches can develop quarterbacks because we don't see that much here. So, like, good for them for developing their quarterback, man. It must be nice in Philadelphia, man.
The back-to-back championship hat came in the other day. I'm rocking today, but I will always, for Jalen Hurts, he got benched at halftime in the national championship game.
Yep.
Stayed, then went to Oklahoma. The work and the travel that he's gotten to get to this point, youngest quarterback ever in a Super Bowl, is really remarkable.
If you don't respect it, you got issues, man.
That's right. And And good on Howie Roseman, the deals he made. They hit on all cylinders.
Attacking success, man.
They did attack success. Let's get to is Patrick Mahomes already the second best quarterback to ever play the game?
It looked like it. It looks like it, man. I call Patrick Mahomes God's gift to quarterbacking, man, because we've never seen anything like him. The way he plays, this street ball style, it shouldn't work in the NFL, but it does. He's like this. He's the transcendent figure at a quarterback position. He's Steph Curry to football, but he's already like the things he does on the field. There's no one like him in the history of football. I think Rodgers was the freakiest talented guy we had ever seen, and Mahomes comes into the league a souped-up version of Rodgers. He's a souped-up version of him, but he's more fun to watch than Rodgers. People hate on him, and everybody wants to draft the next Mahomes. There is no next Mahomes. This is a generational. I know we hate the term generational talent, generational defining talent. He's unlike anything we've seen. He comes from a college system that does not translate into having great Texas Tech. Like,
right.
You look at Texas Tech quarterbacks and you say the same things you say about quarterbacks from Alabama and Ohio State, in which, none of their quarterbacks ever translate to the next level. This is a guy who was drafted after Mitch Trubisky because all the draft pundits in the league felt the same way. But a good team like the Chiefs, they hedged their bets. They fell in love with him in the draft process. And you know how we're sitting here at 16 like, we can't trade up from 16 to get a quarterback. The Chiefs came up from like 27 to 10 or 11 to get Patrick Mahomes, just like the Texans did to get Watson that year.
Had to jump the Saints in that draft. Saints thought they were going to get Mahomes.
Yep, they thought they were going to get him, and they jumped way up the board from the late 20s. A good, consistently playoff team jumped up to get a guy they fell in love with, and the rest was history. He's already he's trending to be the best quarterback ever just off of the eye test alone. He got some hardware he needs to earn over the years, but I think ring number 2 at age 27 is coming in 2 weeks, and I'm not mad at anyone who's already putting him at number 2 because he's different, man.
They've hosted the AFC Championship game every year he started.
Yeah, that's GOAT stuff. That's GOAT stuff, bro.
Now, that being said, if they lost to Burrow yesterday, we'd be having the LeBron, would you rather go to 9 championships and win whatever it is, 4 of them, or Michael go to 5 and win 5? Because if they had lost yesterday, then you've also seen Mahomes lose more AFC championship games than he's won. So really big game yesterday. Huge. For Mahomes. It's hard to say that. He's only been in the league 5 years. But really, it was an interesting game for him, for sure. Real quick, who do you like for the Super Bowl?
I've been consistent the entire year that the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl because I thought fans and league pundits worldwide, I think they had Patrick messed up, man. When he lost Tyreek Hill, they're like, we're going to see him regress this year. He's not going to be the same animal without this weapon. This dude is throwing to Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Juju Smith-Schuster, Sky Moore, McCole Hardman. Yes, Travis Kelce's probably like the second or first best tight end in league history, whatever you want him to be. But the dude just 5,300 yards, 43 touchdowns. He's out there hobbling around on one ankle and makes the scramble to close he's sensational, man. There's nothing you can pick out or nitpick about his game. He's like perfection. And I've stayed consistent that the Chiefs were going to win the Super Bowl. I think I think the Eagles are going to give them a good game. The Eagles are really good. They're very deserving to be in the Super Bowl, and it could go either way, but I think Mahomes is winning this one, man. The only reason we've seen Mahomes lose in the Super Bowl is because Brady's Brady, man, and they got after Pat the last time they played the Bucs in the Super Bowl. Pat coming for revenge. Ring number 2. I don't think anything's there to stop it. He'll be healthy in 2 weeks. So will Kelsey.
You mentioned the loss of Tyreek Hill. I saw it. I don't remember who posted it earlier, and I forget who the second one was, but several quarterbacks lost number 1 receivers this year, including Aaron Rodgers, and they looked way off. And for him to have lost Tyreek Hill, I think a lot of people thought they'd be taking a step backwards, and they did no such thing.
None.
Let's move on to the Commanders.
Yeah.
You mentioned trading up big for quarterback. Is that something you'd do in this draft?
Oh, for sure. Like I would be of the mindset that, but it's a double-edged sword because one, I don't think Ron needs to decide who the quarterback of the future of this franchise is, because I think Ron's future as the coach of this team ends in 2024 once new ownership is settled in and once they've had a year of review. Because when new ownership comes in, he's literally in the same situation he was in Carolina with David Tepper. If the season goes awry, he could get fired in season this year because they didn't hire this guy. And Ron has his handprints over the entire organization because he's been a de facto president of football operations and GM since he's got here. But me personally, I would do whatever it takes to get up and get Stroud or Young in this class. So, I mean, even if you want to take a chance on Levis or Richardson, I would like that too, because you keep taking swings at the quarterback position. But for Ron Rivera's lame duck situation here, he might as well just rock with Sam Howell for this year and sign a veteran middling guy, Andy Dalton, for example, to go compete, or not compete, but be his backup. I think that's Ron's best case scenario. I fear he's going to get into this veteran quarterback mix and try his best to get a Jimmy G or a Carr here, though. I think that's where Ron's going to be headed this offseason. But it should always, like, there should never be a coach who gets a tenure in a place without a quarterback who goes 4 years straight without drafting one in the first round. That's like malpractice to me.
I've been complaining about it for years, and you know that. I
want Fields.
I would have traded up for Fields 2 years ago, or whatever, 3 years ago, whatever that draft was. The Bears gave up one extra pick, and they were one spot behind us. I would have easily done that. Same. I'm not a fan of Levis. I've watched too many of his SEC games.
He's Wentz to me.
Sure. And Richardson is 2 years off. Mm-hmm. I think between those two, I like Richardson better, but he's not ready anytime soon, I don't think. I would be willing to trade up for Young. This offseason will be fascinating because of the Ron stuff. It's not like we're the only ones talking about it. Mm-hmm. His decision-making has been, in the first round, is not great. Have you found Ron to be a good talent evaluator since he's been here? This is an interesting one because the roster is not terrible.
The roster isn't terrible, and it's in a better place than when he found it, but is it that much better? Like, it's a weird question because he's had some hits. He's had some mid to late round pick. Like, who knew Derek Forrest was going to be a legitimate bona fide starting safety?
Yep.
He found Kam Curl in the 7th round. Like, Benjamin St. Juste in the mid round looks like a fine cornerback too. There's hits places, but there's also like glaring misses. And Jamin Davis showed growth in year 2, but it's almost to the point where we have to applaud every positive thing he does because he's not what he should be from where we drafted him. He's probably playing like a player that should have went in the later rounds in that draft instead of being picked at 19. But when you pick him at 19, we have to hold him to the standard of a first round pick. Jahan Dotson is a hit. I hated the pick when it happened, and I immediately ate crow. As soon as I seen him in OTAs up close in person, I was like, oh, no, he's different. This dude is different. But 4 years into the program and you haven't established a franchise quarterback, what did you really come here to accomplish? Like, we're not playing quarterbackless football. It's 2023, and literally – every year, 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 4 of the last 4 teams left have a special talent at the quarterback position. We have to sit here and pray on Sam Howell being a hit and being what we thought he was after his sophomore year in college because Ron has yet to hit on the quarterback position, and that has been the position that has plagued this franchise since Daniel Snyder bought the team. We're now going on 29 guys in 22 years.
It's incredible, and it's not, and it's not that they haven't tried.
They have.
But you can try to hit a baseball, but if it goes by you, it's a strike. So
I'm sick of vets, though. Like, I don't even want to play the veteran game. I don't even want a veteran on the roster, to be perfectly honest. Like, go get a young guy to compete with Sam Howell and just let the young guys duke it. I don't want to see another retread here. We're not getting Aaron Rodgers. We're not getting Cook Brady. And Lamar Jackson, even if he becomes available via tag and trade, I think the compensation is too rich for Ron's blood. He hasn't shown me that he's willing to put up what it would take to get a Lamar Jackson. So realistically speaking, just give me Sam Howell and a young guy and build the roster around him in 2023.
Well, and something I hadn't thought about until I had Rick Snyder on the show Friday. He made a great point about guys like, trading for Lamar Jackson, let's say, or even re-signing Payne, which we'll get to a little bit later, is that the owner's got to come up with the big signing bonus. That's all up front.
Yep.
So like, is Snyder really going to give $60 million in signing bonuses to Lamar Jackson on his way out the door?
As a parting gift to the franchise.
Right. Like, why would he do that? It makes no sense.
He's too petty to do something.
You're going to pay 20% of Payne's new contract up front before you leave? I don't see it. So that to me is maybe the bigger thing here is what are they willing to put out there money-wise for a guy that's, packing the shit and leaving?
It's such a weird, we're in like one of the weirdest situations ever. We're in this owner limbo where it almost feels like the league has to push up the bidding process. I know they say late March is probably the earliest the owners can vote on it, but they kind of need this resolved by the new league year because it's kind of like we're operating with a phantom owner right now. We're writing phantom checks to free agents when free agency start. If we traded for a guy, what are we really doing right now? And that's why these wacky scenarios keep getting thrown out about what if in March when new ownership comes in, they have a silent deal with Sean Payton to come in and coach the team. It's crazy. Sure. It's wacky. It doesn't make sense on the forefront because it's like, can you really shelve an entire staff and scouting department weeks before the new league year and a month before the draft? It's wacky. It's unconventional. But if any franchise is capable of something that unconventional, it is the squad that we know and love. It is us. That is what we do. So as crazy as it sounds, it doesn't sound impossible or implausible for the Washington Commanders to be capable of.
And you're totally right. I completely agree with you. I brought this up before. Anybody that was going to be the potential GM here moving forward, I mean, these guys study football all year round. So just because said person might not have been in a front office currently or was as an assistant GM somewhere or whatever they are currently doing, doesn't mean that they couldn't come in at the end of March after the owners meeting and still be ready to run a draft room.
This is true. And honestly, a staff can all be fired, but I've seen situations where the scouting department stays in place though. Like Tim Gribble and those guys, they might be still in place. They could still
Kyle Smith stayed the year that Ron Rivera came in.
Yeah, exactly. So the scouting department, like literally the front office and the coaching staff could be canned and replaced, and they could still move as regular and just keep it going. But I don't know. It's a weird situation, but I feel like we're stuck with Ron for 2023, so we got to hope for the best. But it could get messy and it could get crazy once these new ownership details come up.
I went back and tried to find it, and I couldn't. I know I had you on before the season started. What was your record prediction before the season started?
11-6. My first 11-win season as a fan here. I wanted it. I needed it. And I think even with the roller coaster of inept quarterback play of Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke, 11 games was there for the taking for this team this year. I look at 4 games that defined our season. The 2 Giants games, the Titans game, and the Vikings game. We choked versus the Vikings with a 10-point lead with 10 minutes left in the game where we absolutely outplayed them for 90% of the game. The Titans, we choked on the 1-yard line. Carson Wentz threw an interception on the 1-yard line, and Ron mismanaged time, and we didn't run Brian Robinson one time from the 1-yard line, and we just did all passes, and Scott Turner did his best Scott Turner impression and choked at the 1-yard line. 2 games. Then we had a tie in New York where we had a 10-point lead early in the game, and we had the ball on their 41 in overtime to win the game. And then on national TV, people like to say we got hosed by the referees. Yes, the refs played their part in that game, but I'm not excusing scoring 12 points at home for the whole world to see in prime time after preparing for one team for 3 weeks. You tied with a team. You went to the bye. You had 3 weeks to prepare for the same team. You scored 12 points on national football. You didn't deserve to win the game. I don't give the refs that credit. Those 4 games were the difference between being 11 or 12 win team and being 8-1. And that's why we're in the position we're in.
Chris hits it here. That after that first game, and I know we talked about it, I was excited. Right. Man. I mean, it was the offense we thought we were going to see, screens and motion everywhere, play action, deep bombs. And
it was beautiful.
It fizzled as fast as Turner did.
It was fool's gold, man. It was fool's gold. We were bamboozled, led astray, hoodwinked, all of the above, man. I was living on a high after. We were celebrating like we clinched a playoff berth in the stadium week 1, man. Carson comes out with 304 touchdowns in his debut. Offense is moving. This receiving core, oh my God, it's the Posse 2.0. Life was good. And then Aiden Hutchinson and the Lions humbled the hell out of us in week 2 of the season.
Now, both of those teams turned out to be quality opponents.
Indeed.
Didn't necessarily look at the time.
Yep.
But it was, man, it's what I thought this whole thing was going to be about with Turner. Turner's out. They're looking for a new offensive coordinator. As you know, we had Benjamin Albright on the show a couple of weeks ago.
Oh my God.
Dropped a little Bieniemy nugget. A lot of people said that was crazy at the time. It is all over the place now. Is Bieniemy a guy that intrigues you?
He's definitely a guy that intrigues me because I don't know exactly what it is he does with Kansas City, but it's confusing. And Benjamin Albright pointed out so many, there's so much context that the normal eye doesn't pay attention to, like his contract situation. He's pretty much been getting 1-and-1 deals for like the last few years. And it appears that Andy Reid has been trying to push him out the door, but he's also giving him a good word. So he's like, this guy can do it. But the guy's been on 17, 18 head coaching interviews and hasn't landed one. It's confusing. It's like, there's no way you could be around the tutelage of Andy Reid for like a decade and not soak something up. But then there's the other side of it where he said this guy's offense at Colorado, like it couldn't even be translated to players. Like it was a disaster. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword, but I would like to see him. He has something to prove, and he has to leave the nest of Andy Reid. And a lot of people don't know, oh my God, why would he leave the Kansas City Chiefs? One, it's not a lateral move because he's a free agent as of season's end. His contract expires as soon as the Chiefs season's over. So it's not a lateral move. The man needs a job at the end of the season. And he may need to prove himself in a place where he's the lead dog, offensive coordinator, play caller to get a head coaching job. Is it fair? Things in the NFL are weird. You know how that goes. But I don't think he's getting a head coaching job right now. I think he needs to. Baltimore wants to interview him. We want to interview him. It appears I'm listening to Benjamin Albright because that guy's plugged in, and usually what he says comes to fruition. Yep. It appears that Bieniemy's been the guy the whole time, and we've been interviewing the whole world, buying time to get to him. We were going to interview Anthony Lynn. I think Bieniemy's the guy Ron and them locked in on. There's history with him and Hurney with the guy, and Ron loves his history. So if he's been on a roster with a guy, there's a big chance it happens. I think Bieniemy has to be the favorite to be the offensive coordinator right now.
And also his ties to Andy Reid gave Ron his first job, if I'm not mistaken. So tons of connective tissue there. I think you made a great point. That's what it is. People ask me all the time after I posted that, like, why would he leave Mahomes and Andy Reid? Well, that's it. Because no matter what that offense does, right, people will always just assume
it's Andy Reid.
Even on the broadcast last night, Romo had to make sure that he wanted to say every time a good play happened, there's the genius of Andy Reid, and then he'd make sure to say, and Bieniemy at the end. If you're always the second thought, that's why it's so hard to really make people understand that you're the one that's shining.
Andy Reid talks him up like he's like his brother too. Like Andy Reid is propping him up every year. Like, yo, this guy right here, you guys want to take a look at this guy. But I think he was the target. I believe Benjamin Albright. I knew there was something when he was all vague. As soon as Scott got fired, he said, I heard a rumor about Bieniemy. Check in with me in a couple weeks and I'll let y'all know. I was like, oh, Oh, that's something. That's a nugget there. He just dropped it and left.
Yeah, he did. Let's see. I asked on Twitter this week. People went all crazy about it. Just a simple question, not whether you want him on the team or not, but if Heineke is going to get around $12 million this year, which I think that's the number, I've seen even higher, and Daniel Jones is going to get somewhere around 30, particularly we just saw that the cap number went up a big number, almost $20 million.
Yeah,
would you rather have Heineke at 12 or Daniel Jones at 30?
One, it's not a crazy question. It's not a crazy question.
People thought it was ridiculous, Rio.
People just lose their mind over everything. Everything is reactionary. Everything is mass hysteria as soon as they see someone ask a question. It's sports. It's sport. We don't have to get so personal over sports questions, but you know where I'm going with this one. I don't know if Daniel Jones should be getting $30 million a year, but give me Daniel Jones at $30 million a year every day in the week or twice on Sunday over giving Taylor Heineke $12 million. Like Heineke, he's a cool backup, cool story. I'm good. I think our offense would be in much better hands with Daniel Jones. They played keep away from him their entire year. Like they limited his turnovers because they really kept the ball out of his hands for the most part. But he showed me more in that one playoff game versus the Vikings than I've seen from the quarterback position here in years in DC. That one performance outdoes anything I've seen here in a long time. Daniel Jones easily. I'd rather not, but I think I'm not walking around and saying that Sam Howell is the answer. I'm saying I think we can get as much production out of Sam Howell if he's given the keys than we've seen here in the last couple years. And that's not saying much, but I honestly would rather not spend on the quarterback position than spend everywhere else and just let Ron have a shot with the only guy he's drafted because he has not made it. Like, you got to lay in the bed that you made here. You didn't draft a quarterback in the first round any year here. Continue to trend.
I think they will. I mean, unless they're going all the way up to 1 for Young, which, by the way, would be my choice.
I love Stroud too, though. Like, I would love to have Stroud. Yeah,
I'll tell you what, Stroud earned a lot of equity with me in that Georgia game.
That boy.
Because I know you're not supposed to scout the helmet. I know that.
Yep.
But when was the last time an Ohio State quarterback panned out? You can't do it because there isn't one.
He's such a beautiful passer, though. He layers the ball so perfectly at all three levels, and something about the way he throws the ball is different than all the other Ohio State. He's much more of a natural passer. He refuses to run, sometimes to his detriment. Like, that guy is everything's by design with CJ Stroud. But he even showed versus you guys he can move. Like, CJ Stroud isn't a statue. He chooses to pass from the pocket. He chooses to do things by design. I think the Panthers are in love with Stroud, and they're going to do whatever it takes to try to get Stroud on that roster. And I feel like the Colts and Levis seem like a match. Like, he seems like Jim Irsay's guy. I would love to have Bryce Young or Stroud. Bryce Young is a flawless prospect. Literally, the only thing that keeps him from being one is the fact that he's 187 pounds and 6 feet tall. Because there's no flaws to his game. He does everything well, very well. And the Bears should actually be considering taking him with the first pick.
Say they do that, which I think is in play. Absolutely. I know that you agreed when we talked about this earlier. You know where I'm going. Give me Fields, right?
Bring his ass to DC if he's up for a trade. Bring Justin Fields and Sam Howell quarterback room gives me more promise than I felt here in a long time, man. Justin Fields grew as a passer despite his best receivers being Chase Claypool and Darnell Mooney. They really give him nothing to throw to, yet he's still grown as a passer. And he's had the most electrifying rushing season as a quarterback like that we've seen. It was a Lamar Jackson-esque style. He ran for 1,200 yards this year. He's a dual threat. He keeps defenses guessing, and you're giving him a full stable of weapons here. He has a run game. He has 3 receivers. I think we could use a pass-catching tight end 1, but he has everything he needs here. And a quarterback with his legs makes the line being shaky. It masks it a little bit because he's a guy who can move off platform and can move around. Like, I would take Justin Fields in a heartbeat here.
Would you just swap him for Daron Payne straight up?
The Bears love the Bears fans love Daron Payne. They have been talking about Daron Payne all off season. If we can't get a long-term deal done with him, I don't want to play the tag cha-cha-cha Brandon Sheriff Kirk Cousins game with Daron Payne. And I don't see this crew getting a long tail done with him. I see him playing on the tag this year if he's here. So I would do it. It's a quarterback. If we can't keep him, it's a quarterback, bro. It's a quarter.
It goes back to the Chase Young discussion, right? I mean, say what you want about Chase Young, and injury has derailed him a little bit. But you would go back and take Herbert or Tua any day of the week over Chase Young. I'm sorry.
What you do is you go back to that season and you go back to Miami and you make them get the 2-point conversion. And we lose that game, so we can draft Joe Burrow, so we never have to have this conversation again.
I was so wrong on Joe Burrow. I didn't see it. I know the whole world saw it. I didn't see it. I really thought he was just a product of that LSU system.
He's so freaking good, man. And for those that say, would he be Joe Burrow if he got drafted by Washington? Yes, he would still be Joe Burrow if he got drafted by Washington. And while we like to get
and the offensive coordinator would still be here, and Ron wouldn't be on the hot seat. I mean,
it would be different. It would be so different here right now. And we like to sit here and give Chase Young all these built-in excuses. Oh, it's ACL tear. Joe Burrow tore his ACL and has been great since. Nick Bosa tore his ACL and has been great and is probably about to win Defensive Player of the Year. It's time that 99 actually looks like he's really good at football. I'm tired of the excuse making. If he comes back with no pass rush plan and no ability to use his hands, like I'm good. I'm over it. I need to see something in 2023.
Joe Burrow put a move on that guy yesterday. I didn't think he had it.
Shook it out.
God, the videos came out about Asai, the guy with the late hit. Feel terrible for that guy. You know his life is going to be hell for at least the next week.
That man better not log on. He better not log on Twitter for until the summertime, because it's gonna be ugly on there, man.
Did you see the article in the Washington Times today about Kam Curl and subsequently what his dad says they're going to be asking for?
Oh, yeah. I've seen I didn't read the article, but I've seen it.
Great article about Matthew Paris.
And I've seen the discussion about it. It's clear that Kam Curl is the glue that keeps the defense together here, because when he was off the field, the defense was lost this year. It seems like his absence meant more than anybody else's absence on the defense. So it's time Kam Curl got some money. I don't know about making him the league's highest paid safety. I'm not sure about 20 plus million a year, but the salary cap's going up. Get your guys taken care of. Get them taken care of so we can move on to other things and figuring out other positions in the offseason. Kam Curl is 7th round pick. We're talking about a guy who's making $780,000 a year right now, something crazy like that. Get that man his money and let that man reap the benefits of his hard work, man. Give him his money, period.
That is a hell of a pay raise from $885,000 to $18 million a year.
Hell yeah. $18 million a year gets it done. Give him that today. Write the check, be done with it.
And to the point, though, and I said this earlier when somebody tweeted about the cap going up. Just because the cap going up doesn't mean that you have more money to spend on more players. It means your favorite player wants more money.
Yep.
So this idea that, we've got all this cap room, we can get more guys. No, that's why Daron Payne wants $23 million a year. It's why Kam Curl is going to want $18 million a year. Nice. When last year on a $202 million cap, it's all by percentages. So take each one of those guys down 8% if that's what the cap moved up. Let's see. I have let me pull this up. I have a list. We'll wrap like this. I have a list of pending free agents for the Commanders, and you just say yes or no. Cam Sims.
No.
Really?
We don't use him. We don't use him. He's just there taking up a uniform.
He's a special teams ace, no?
He's a good special teams guy. I feel like for what he does, we can draft or sign a replacement for what he does. Like, we're still waiting for him to break out and to be what fans would like him to be for like years.
What's the chance a new offensive coordinator comes and he finally does break out?
I don't know, man. Some guys just don't break out. Like we're talking about a guy who didn't even break out when he was at Alabama.
That's right.
Like this may just be who he is as the fringe roster guy and body that takes up a uniform, special teams guy. I think there's a spot on the roster for him. He's not a cap casualty or anything, so I can see why we would keep him. But no.
Wes Schweitzer.
I like Wes Schweitzer. And clearly with the way that our line turns bodies over, we need Wes Schweitzer on the roster. Definitely keeping Wes Schweitzer.
Cole Holcomb.
Nope.
This is an interesting one. They still, Jamin wore the green dot, but he was not playing middle linebacker. They still need one. Cole Holcomb is a good middle linebacker. You don't want to back a no number. Like
sign Tremaine Edmonds or somebody. Like sign a better linebacker. Just spend a little more money and sign a better linebacker. Tremaine Edmonds will cost more than Cole Holcomb, but he's had an up and down tenure in his rookie contract in Buffalo.
Yes.
Give me the 25-year-old athletic guy from the area that gives my defense a better chance, a better sideline to sideline.
Oh, if you could tell me we could get Edmonds, I'd be all for it. I'm not sure.
I don't think he gets tagged. I think he's a free agent at the end of the year, and it always appeals to guy went to Stonewall. It always appeals to guys to come home. So I think there's a chance. There's another guy, another linebacker. I'm not thinking off the top of my head. I think Long. I think his name is Long, David Long. No, I don't know. There's another. Pay more for a better linebacker. Let's not go into the season ignoring the position that Del Rio and Rivera both played that they can't seem to get right.
That one I disagree with you. I'm in on Holcomb. Joey Sly, the Sly guy.
I'll drive him to Dallas. I'll pitch in to take him to Dallas. Draft a kicker. Draft or sign a kicker.
I'd like to draft a kicker.
7th round pick, draft a kicker. Give me the kid from Missouri. Give me the Michigan kid. Give me a rookie kicker. Let's draft the guy and not ever have to look at the kicker position again.
Khalil Hudson.
He actually showed something in week 18.
He did. I don't know why it's taken him 4 years and up to week 18, but yeah. I always thought he was going to do something better. He's had a tough time getting on the field.
Hitman Hudson, man. Week 18, all the kids showed out, man. Like in games where we play with our back against the wall, nothing to lose, we always see a different Washington than we've seen the whole year. We finally see guys like Percy Butler flashing at safety, Khalil Hudson flashing at linebacker. Sure, get in the mix, Khalil Hudson. You're a young body. Get in the mix and fight for a spot on the roster. But he's not someone I would bank on to be a starter or anything. No. Efe Obada had a nice year. Is an unrestricted free agent. I'd bring him back. Efe Obada is like the best edge rushing pass rusher that we have on the team. Efe Obada gets to the quarterback as easy as anybody on the roster. Yeah. Efe Obada more productive than Chase Young as a pass rusher, but people don't want to talk about it. Last one I have on my list is Jonathan Williams is a unrestricted free agent. I think he's replaceable. I don't really think there should be any need to bring Jonathan Williams. Hey, you might bring him back though, because you might trade Gibson in the offseason because they still don't know what to do with Gibson here. So I really don't see his purpose on the roster at this point. You're gonna make people upset here, but you were on that, I know. Trading Gibson now. Realistically, what is his value? A fourth? I don't know. People wanted him at the trade deadline, and then he proceeded to not flash for like the second half of the season, and he gets banged up a lot. He doesn't really have a role. He's not a natural running back. Whatever his value is, I'll take it. If someone offers me a 4th or 5th for Antonio Gibson, take him. Take him. Really? And take him. Like I don't really understand. Like we don't know what to do with him. And yes, we're getting a new offensive coordinator, so they may figure out a role for him, but we have no idea what to do with Antonio Gibson. And honestly, he leaves a lot to be desired as a running back to me. He's still learning to play the position, it feels like. And he's in the final year of his rookie contract. He's still learning to play the position. I'm cool. Yeah. Draft another one. And I would never give a second contract to a running back. I'm just not doing it. Ever. I don't pay running backs. Rio, before we run out of here, what are you coming up on like 2 years on your podcast now, right? How'd you get started with that thing? Yes, sir. A couple years ago, 2021, I started it up. I'd planned. It had been under works for a long time. I'd been finding every reason in the world not to start. Oh, I don't got a name for it. I don't got equipment. And then one day I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna press record. And for anyone who wants to start making content, my biggest advice would be to just start. Press record and figure out the rest on the way. You'll figure out how to be on camera, how to moderate when you have guests. You'll figure out all that on the fly, and don't be afraid to ask questions of people who do it. So now I'm coming up on 2 years on the podcast. In June will be my 2-year anniversary on YouTube.
Just incredible. Yeah, the openings to these things and the outros are still like my hardest thing. I'm very uncomfortable doing the intros. What do you do once the season's over? What will you transition to on the pod?
A whole bunch of off-season talk, like off-season wish list. And I've started it for the last 3 weeks, and I'm doing it all the way up to the draft. Mondays, I'm doing mock draft Mondays on the channel. So I have a video coming out later today. Some different variant. Like last week, I had a guy who's a Ravens fan, a good friend of mine, and we did a 4-round Ravens and Commanders mock draft where we did what we think our teams are going to do. Each week, there's going to be a new theme to it. My theme today for my mock draft Monday is going to be like a YOLO mock draft. Like, you know what? We're just going to go best player on the board, and we're going to get right to it. I'm picking 2 weapons to start this mock draft today. So it's going to be super interesting, and it's going to be super controversial, and people will probably lose their mind over what I
have you already done it? Would you like to tease one of the picks here?
Oh yeah. I'll let you know straight up because I'm still putting it out. I went running back tight end to start the draft. The draft. Hell yeah. And that would get people shaking up. I pretty much went with we paid for linemen in the offseason, and we'll get them in the mid to late rounds of the draft. We're going to go all in on this kid, Sam Howell, and see what he got. So we went and got Bijan to start the draft. Right. And we went and got Dalton Kincaid, tight end out of Utah in the 2nd round to be our starting tight end. And he has a stacked deck of weapons to go into 2023. This is my YOLO Madden fantasy mock draft. So yeah, that's what I'm doing today.
There will be good tight ends in that 2nd round. The kid Darnell Washington from Georgia should still be.
I know you're Georgia boy, man.
He's a freak.
Bowers is going to be crazy next year too.
He is Bowers is one of the few guys I've seen in college football that didn't need the 3-year rule.
Nope.
Like he could have gone straight to the league at 18 years old and still destroyed everybody. He runs like Happy Gilmore, but just flies by people. Next year, he's going to be a top 15 pick next year.
And I think they should consider changing that rule at some point. It might make the league more exciting. Like I know they don't want kids in the NFL with grown men, but they mess up a lot of guys' future by making them stay an unnecessary year, and they go back and get hurt. They go back and lay an egg.
And not just that, but the league is becoming younger than college football as we draft these guys younger and younger, and these kids start playing football younger and younger, and they can get into college with early acceptance to get started earlier. I mean, how many starting quarterbacks in the league right now are going to be under 25?
It's a young man's game. It's a young man's game. That's why I don't want Ron to get back into this veteran retread mode that I fear that he's going to try to get us back into. Before I go, though, if you had to bet your money on it right now, who's starting week 1, 2023 for the Commander?
Sam Howell.
I think so, too.
Yeah. I mean, I've had this conversation with a couple of different other people, and I just don't. For one, he's the only quarterback on the roster right now.
Yep.
So that makes that easy. And 2, I guess here's the follow-up question to that. If he was able to leave after his sophomore year, and he's a 2nd round pick and not a 5th round pick, then what do you think? You know what
the conversation would be different. Honestly, we're all programmed into draft speak. Literally, if he was 6'3" right now, everything about him would be viewed totally different. It's just he has that 6 foot stocky, like he doesn't like fit the mold of like he had a much better college career than Will Levis, and he also comes from an NFL translatable offense. But because Will Levis is 6'3", 230 and can run, also Sam Howell has a cannon and can run. It comes from an NFL translatable offense. But we're sitting here and punishing Sam Howell for having a 35 touchdown off season when Levis threw 17 touchdowns last year. He's going top 10 in the draft. Draft speak in these tropes that they throw out, it ruins all of it. Like you view guys in totally different lenses. We're going to watch Anthony Richardson and Levis off of traits alone go top 20 in the draft, and Howell fell to the 5th round for having a 35 touchdown, 3,000 off season.
After 2 of his receivers and both of his running backs left for the NFL.
Yep. The NFL draft is
and that's why I think Howell is interesting, and that's why I'm sure that there's guys in the building like, Marty, who drafted the kid, wanted to see him play and would be happy to not go quarterback first round. Would you trade for Trey Lance if he becomes available?
I think that's going to be rich because they're going to be trying to recoup all that capital that they lost for getting him.
Even if it just costs you a first round draft pick.
Yeah, do it. I do it. Yeah, I do it. I'm of the belief that you always take shots at the quarterback position. Trey Lance is still 23 years old. Let him go out and compete with Sam Howell and see how competition sparks something in him. See how he bounces back from an injury. Sure, why not? Because Sam's going to have to learn his second offense in 2 years. So him and Trey Lance, I am all for having 2 under 25-year-old guys duke it out for the quarterback position. I literally don't want to see a quarterback over 25 on the roster next year. I'm so afraid to watch that. And I'm so afraid Ron's going to throw his hat so far in the ring for Carr and Jimmy Garoppolo and guys like that. And that would
I think if it was up to him, he would. I think the one thing that might save us from that is what we were talking about at the top of the show. Owner limbo and nobody wanting to pay. Again, you got to give Derek Carr a new contract as a free agent, and he'll want a lot of money up front. And so I think that probably will save us there. And one less on Trey Lance, I was just asking, I was curious your thoughts, but I've been told several times by several different people he wasn't ready this year. Like, I think they were fortunate maybe that he wasn't able to go the entire year. He didn't see the field yet. And I think a lot of people in the building were disappointed about that.
He's a young dude, man. He's going into his 3rd season, and he's still 23 years old. And if he ain't ready this year, he ain't ever going to get ready. But off traits alone, I'd take a shot at it. But I think what we're going to see in 2023 is the Sam Howell show, and we're going to see what it is. He's either going to look good, and we have a guy, or he's going to look bad, and we're going to have a good draft pick in a QB-rich 2024 draft. And the new owner, new team president, GM, coach, all of that, they're going to pick their guy in 2024. So it's literally a win-win for us.
And in 2024, they could package it all to get up to 1.
Yep.
And make a big splash for the new owner if they'd like to.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't get a long-term deal done with Payne, please flip him in a tag and trade and get some draft capital and some value for him. Please
stop. If they let him run out the door for a 3rd-round comp pick 2 years from now, I will be pissed.
Oh, yeah, my guy. I don't want that. I want us to have some foresight and to get something done. Like, get some actual draft capital and value for the guy if you can't get a long-term deal done. Come on, Ron.
There's no reason in a sign and trade that you shouldn't be able to get multiple picks if it's a 2nd and 3rd or a 2nd and a 4th. I'm not sure if you're getting a 1st round pick, although you might, maybe a team low in the draft would be willing to slap you a 1st, or one of these teams that's got multiple 1st. But no, I'm with you. Several people have told me they don't see him starting day 1 for the Commanders. I mean, I'd be disappointed, but if that's the case, it's got to be a sign and trade. You can't let him walk for a comp pick.
Ron should probably act like this is his last year, and he should try to go out with a bang. So maybe Ron surprises all of us. Maybe we pull off some wild ass trade and bring Rodgers here, or something crazy happens. Like, I don't know. Maybe Ron finally gets it. Like, I can't settle for mediocrity this year. I can't have my usual 7 to 8 win season. I have to do something big or we're all gone. Because think about it. It's not just you. It's all the people you hired that are going to be leaving with you as well. A lot of people's jobs are riding on how you do this season. So maybe Ron gets that finally, and maybe he comes out and shocks us this offseason.
One last one. Biggest concern for you heading into next season, offensive line or the secondary?
The secondary. That's why I think the cornerback should be the first pick in our draft class. I think we should. The cornerback class is amazing this year. Like, McShay was like, he expects 13 to go in the top 50 and possibly 10 or 11 in the 1st round. And I believe it. I love the cornerback class. If we don't get one of these guys, I'm going to be disappointed. Kendall Fuller has to be the oldest feeling 27-year-old in the league. He feels
Incredible,
33.
he's only 27.
Doesn't it feel like he's 33 and he's been in the league for 12 years at this point? Like, it's crazy. And St. Juice is injury prone, but he seems to be a fine cornerback too. A very fine cornerback too. Give me a Christian Gonzalez, a Devon Witherspoon, or one of those guys, Joey Porter Jr. opposite bench. We need a dog cornerback one. We need a solidified number one corner on the roster. I think that is a bigger – I think the line can be finished. There's tackles we can sign in the offseason. I think the guard combo of Chris Paul and Cosme could be something. We could be on to something there. But I think we'll get the line figured out. And honestly, I think QB play affected some of what we've seen a lot of what we've seen with the offensive line this year. Decision-making and lack of processing skills by the two quarterbacks playing had a lot to do with the quarterback situation, with the line situation.
Rio, you're the best, brother. I appreciate you coming on today.
Appreciate you, my dog. Have a good one, man.
And Chris McDaniel was here with us the whole time, so I appreciate you too.
You're a real one, Chris. Appreciate you, man.
All right, fam. We'll catch you later.
All right, man. Deuces.